Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jill. Happy birthday to you. Keep coming back without a drink and read your book. Work the steps and call your sponsor.
Yeah, all that.
Hi, I'm Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
I wasn't expecting to have this honor and give this to Jill. I've known Jill for a few years now, and she's been an inspiration and an example. Big ear, listening, and some of our heart-weighing stories. And I love you.
I love you too. Thank you. And since I'm the speaker, I'm just going to go on up and speak, but I want to pass this token around. My brother actually got me this. Hi, my name's Jill. I'm an alcoholic. And I'm going to pass this around. I don't even know how it comes out of the container, but you could look at it. Pass it around. I want everybody's energy. So anyway, I'm really grateful to be here, and I want to thank James for asking me to come here tonight, because I always consider it an honor, and I'm very humbled to be able to come here and share my experience, strength, and hope. So thank you very much. So I'm going to start this meeting off in a way that you've never had an AA meeting started off before, because I'm a PE teacher. So I'm going to sing you a song. And when I sing you a song, and I sing a word that starts with the letter B, and you're sitting, I'd like you to stand. And if I sing again a word with the letter B, and you're standing, I'd like you to sit. And if you know the song, go ahead and sing along with me. So everybody got that? And if you have any kind of physical issues or have a hard time standing, just put your hands up and down in the air like that. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. My Bonnie lies over the sea. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. So bring back my Bonnie to me. Bring back, bring back. Bring back my Bonnie to me. Bring back, bring back, bring back my Bonnie to me. Very good, very good. Well done. Well done. And just like my students, I had those ace students in here who were going up and down every single time, had it perfect. Then I had those who had no idea and weren't listening to the directions and just were looking at everybody else and doing what the person did next to them. And then I had those who didn't want to do anything. They didn't come here to stand up and down. They came here to hear a speaker meeting, and they really don't want to be here. But afterwards, if you noticed, you all laughed. And let me tell you something. When I walked into my first AA meeting in 1983, I heard the laughter in the rooms. And the very first thing I did, I went back to the coffee pot and I smelled to make sure there was no alcohol in the coffee. Because I couldn't believe that they were laughing and having a good time without alcohol. I couldn't fathom that. And, you know, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, September 29th, 1966. The very first thing my father said to my mother when I was born was, "You got your girl, but she's a crippled," because I was born with a club foot, and it made my mom cry. And I really believe from my first breath, I felt like there was something wrong with me. I grew up with 4 brothers, so it was always, "Go home, you're a girl, we don't want you." At the age of 7, I was sexually abused by a friend of my older brother's, and I told my mom after it had been happening for a couple weeks, and I made my mom cry. And immediately, at that age, at 7, I consciously made a decision that I will never share anything ever with my mom that may hurt her. So it was then that the roles of parent-child that were reversed. And it wasn't until I was probably 10 years sober, I went to my mom, and I said, "Mom, how come you didn't hold me and comfort me when I shared that with you?" And she said, "I couldn't believe the same thing that happened to me was happening to my daughter." And I've heard many 5th steps in this program, and I think sexual abuse has happened to maybe all but one of my sponsees. So it's very common, but no one ever talked about it. And it's one of the reasons I drank a lot. So in 1978, my family left Ohio. We moved down to Florida because of the blizzard of 78. And all I knew is in the back of my mind, I knew because a wonderful aunt told me at a holiday that, oh, you know your father never wanted a girl. And I embraced that to be true. And the same aunt was the one who said, oh, go ahead and have an extra brownie. You're going to be fat just like the rest of us Shanks. And I remember making a decision, I will die before I become fat, because in elementary school, my nickname was Fatty Four Eyes in the Goodyear blimp. And the Goodyear blimp would be up in the sky, and my brothers would say, there's Jill. And so I had this all inside of me. And so I am understanding that my father didn't want me. So my father was a football coach. And I went and watched his practices, and I said, Dad, I could play with your team. So I was the first girl in the state of Florida to play football, you know, with the helmet and shoulder pads. And they called me JJ for Jill the Jock, because my father didn't want the other team to know that I was a girl, so I would get hurt, but they always knew I was a girl. So I never really felt like I belonged in my family, because it was always my brothers and just me. Go home, you're a girl, we don't want you. And now I'm on a football team where it's all guys and just me. And so they go change in the locker room, and I'd have to go change in the girls' restroom. And I kind of was very tomboy and very much looked like a guy. So when I went to the bathroom, people would look at me and I'd say, don't worry, I'm a girl, I'm not a boy. And that was what I would tell people when I would introduce myself, because my name is Jill, but it sounds really close to Joe. So I would say, my name is Jill, I'm a girl, not a boy. And that way it would answer the question right in the beginning. And in high school, I got 14 varsity letters. I started as a freshman on all sports, and I could honestly say that sports was probably my first addiction. And it's interesting because I was a freshman and sophomore, so I'm playing with juniors and seniors, and once again, I'm not feeling like I fit in. So my parents were away for the weekend, and I said, Mom, Dad, can I have some friends over? Sure. And I made a decision to drink. And so all my junior and senior friends came over, and we were playing quarters with Seagram 7s, and I drank basically a fifth of Seagram 7 the very first time I drank. So needless to say, I fell in the pool 6 times, so they told me. I came to the next morning, and I said, how did I get these clothes on? Where did this throw up come from? And I asked if a friend stopped by. Well, you were so full of throw up, we had to throw you in the shower and clean you off. And I was hungover for 3 days with the bed spins, the ceiling fan was, and I swore I would never, ever, ever drink again. I thought, who in their mind would enjoy this? And about 6 months later, I was introduced to beer. And I did not like the taste of it. But boy, let me tell you something. When I drank beer, I knew a new freedom and a new happiness. I did not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. I got taller, my boobs got bigger, my moves got better, and I had it going. It did something for me. It did something for me. It made me feel okay in my own skin, because I did not like who I was. I felt like I didn't belong anywhere or fit in anywhere. When I drank, I could fit in anywhere. I went to college on 5 different athletic scholarships, got kicked out of 2 colleges, drank away all 5 athletic scholarships. It's interesting because now that my sports are taken away, what am I supposed to do? Because that was my thing. And I also, one of the reasons I had a very challenging time getting sober is because when I was 15 years old, I got into competitive bodybuilding. And there's a lot of dieting. And my brother said, why diet? Just eat and throw up. And I thought, that is disgusting. I will never, ever do that. After my first competition, I was so full, my brother said, why don't you just throw up? I was addicted, just like that. I was throwing up to 8 times a day. I would drink, get drunk, binge, throw up. And that was the way I lived for 3 years. I kept no food in my system. So when sports was taken away, I went more into food, my eating disorder and my drinking. And I cannot count how many suicide attempts I've had. I would drink, get drunk, binge, throw up, try and commit suicide, go for an ambulance ride, end up in an emergency room, come to, and say, I can't even kill myself right. What's wrong with me? In fact, one time, I was getting ready to leave the hospital to go jump off a bridge and end my life because I was still hungover from the night before, and the cops showed, handcuffed me, and committed me to a detox center. And then from that detox center, I went to one of the 4 treatment centers I went to. And I went in and out, in and out, in and out for so long. I tried to drink successfully. It took me over a year to stay sober on a Friday night. I don't know what it was. It was just like this game. Oh, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was in AA. Friday night, drunk again. I drink all weekend, come in and get a desire token. I have relapsed probably 3,000 times, but I've gotten sober 3,001 times, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down, just get back up again. And I'm here to tell you that I've done the research for you. You don't have to go back out there again. You don't ever have to pick up another drink ever again, one day at a time. You want to get drunk tomorrow, get drunk tomorrow, but stay sober today. Stay sober today, get drunk tomorrow. And for me, for the longest time, I would say, I read back on journals, 1986, I'll get sober tomorrow. I'm going to drink today, I'll get sober tomorrow. What happens if I turn it around and say, I'm going to stay sober today, I'll get drunk tomorrow? And that works. However, one time I was in Australia, and I was sober, and I don't know what I was thinking. I went with a tour group, singles tour group, and they made drinking look fun again. And I was on this island out in the middle of nowhere, where the only thing there was the restaurant and the bar where everybody was drinking. And it was interesting because I'm praying to God. And if you relapse as much as I have, I would keep a list of all the new invented drinks that they came out with since before I drank the last time, that if I relapse, I need to try this and this and this and this. I mean, I relapsed on Zima a long time ago because it was something new. And so I had this list, and I went, you know what, God? I really need a meeting. Knowing that there's no way that there's going to be a meeting on this island with just a restaurant and where we were staying. I'm hiking down this path. There's this gentleman who has the Alcoholics Anonymous necklace around his neck. And I said, are you a friend of Bill's? And he says, yes, I am. I said, I need a meeting tonight. And he said, meet my wife and I tonight in a restaurant, and we'll have a meeting. See, and that's the way God works. If 50% of me wants to drink and 50% of me wants to stay sober, and I throw up that prayer, God, please help me, God is going to send an angel in my life. That angel may have fur on, feathers on, scales on, and occasionally skin on. But there's always an angel. God answers that prayer. And I was able to stay sober there. See, it's interesting. I went to college. Somehow, some way, I ended up getting my bachelor's degree at University of Central Florida. In fact, one time, I was drunk and very suicidal, and I had, anybody who knows me and knows where I work, I always wear warm-up suits. You know, Adidas, Nike, matching head to toe. And I had this one red, white, and blue warm-up suit that was just stuck out like a sore thumb. It was like an Olympic warm-up suit. And I was a threat. They were looking for me on campus. The campus police came up to me and they said, are you Jill Shank? And I said, no, but you're the third person that says we have this. I have the same warm-up suit as her. She's on the other side of campus. And so literally went to the other side of campus. I'm like, and here I am suicidal, wanting to end my life, and I'm trying to get away with this. What's interesting is, as an alcoholic, I was not afraid of dying. I wanted to die. But I wouldn't, the only time I attempted suicide was when I was drunk. Because when I was sober, I knew that was a stupid thing. I knew that that was not the answer. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Everything passes. This too shall pass. We hear it so many times in these rooms. You know, people come in these rooms and they have the pink